take a deep breath. Because if you found this message, there is a part of you that already knows something is changing. Things just don't feel the same anymore. Even the version of you who used to tolerate certain things, explain certain things, and keep certain connections alive does not feel the same anymore. And maybe lately, it feels like your current reality is falling apart. Your job may be changing. Or maybe you lost a job. Maybe the work you used to do no longer feels aligned with your spirit. Maybe you are waking up every day with this heavy feeling in your chest, wondering how you are supposed to keep showing up in a life that no longer feels like it belongs to you. And then there are the friendships. The people you thought would always be there. The people you used to laugh with. The people you used to confide in. The people who once felt familiar, but now feel distant, strange, or even unsafe for your spirit. Some left quietly. Some betrayed you loudly. Some simply revealed who they were when your life became too heavy for them to pretend to care. And for some of you, the pain goes even deeper than friends. Because it may not just be friendships shifting. It may be family. People connected to you by blood, history, childhood, obligation, or old loyalty. People you thought would understand you. People you thought would protect you. People you thought would at least try to see your heart. But instead, something happened. A distance formed. A truth was revealed. A pattern became too loud to ignore. And now you are standing in the middle of your own life, looking around at everything that is changing, wondering, why is this happening? Why does it feel like everything is being taken from me? Why does it feel like my life is collapsing? Why does it feel like I am losing people, places, stability, and pieces of myself all at once? But what if this is not just loss? What if this is not just destruction? What if your reality is shifting? What if the life you were trying so hard to hold together was never meant to hold the version of you that is being born now? Sometimes, before a new chapter begins, the old one does not end gently. Sometimes it closes through disruption, through separation, through discomfort, through endings you did not ask for, through doors closing before you even understood why they had to close. And I know that sounds hard, because when you are in the middle of it, it does not feel spiritual, it does not feel powerful, it does not feel like rebirth. It feels confusing, it feels unfair, it feels lonely. It feels like you are being stripped down to nothing while everyone else gets to keep living their lives like nothing happened. But there is something sacred happening in the middle of this collapse. Your old reality is breaking because it can no longer contain your next level. The version of you that was built to survive is not the final version of you. The version of you that learned how to shrink, over-explain, tolerate, chase, wait, and keep the peace at the expense of your own spirit is not the version you are meant to carry into this next chapter. Something is being removed. Something is being revealed. Something is being rearranged. And even though you may not understand it yet, your life is making room for a different version of you. A version who no longer begs people to see their value. A version who no longer stays where their spirit is slowly being drained. A version who no longer keeps choosing environments that require them to abandon themselves just to belong. A version who understands that peace is not boring. Peace is protection. Peace is alignment. Peace is the sound of your nervous system realizing it does not have to fight for love anymore. And this is why certain things are collapsing, not because you failed, not because you are cursed, not because life is punishing you, but because the foundation you were standing on was never strong enough for who you are becoming. Some jobs can only hold the old you, the version of you who ignored your gifts, the version of you who accepted less, the version of you who stayed because survival told you there was no other option. Some friendships can only hold the old you, the version of you who laughed off disrespect, the version of you who made yourself easier to love by needing less. The version of you who kept pouring into people who only showed up when it benefited them. Some family dynamics can only hold the old you. The version of you who accepted guilt as love. The version of you who confused loyalty with self-abandonment. The version of you who kept trying to earn care from people who benefited from your silence. But that version of you is ending. And endings can feel like death when you have not yet seen what is being born. That is why this season feels so heavy. Because you are not just losing things. You are shedding identities. You are shedding illusions. You are shedding attachments to people and places that once made you feel safe, even if they were also keeping you small. And the hardest part is that sometimes the people around you will not understand what is happening. They may judge you. They may misunderstand you. They may think you are unstable, distant, emotional, or different. And maybe you are different, but not in the way they think. You are different because your spirit can no longer pretend. You are different because something in you has awakened. You are different because the mask you wore to survive no longer fits the soul that is trying to emerge. This is not the season where everything makes sense. This is the season where the old structure falls. This is the season where you learn who is truly with you. This is the season where false support gets exposed. This is the season where you stop confusing familiarity with alignment. Because not everything familiar is meant to stay. Not everything that has history has a future. Not everyone who knew the old you gets access to the becoming you. And that may hurt. It may hurt deeply. Because sometimes your heart still loves what your spirit has outgrown. Sometimes you still miss people who were not good for you. Sometimes you still grieve places that drained you. Sometimes you still wonder if you made the wrong choice, even when your soul knows you were being guided out. But listen to this. Grief does not always mean you are going backward. Sometimes grief means you are finally allowing yourself to feel the cost of becoming free. You are allowed to grieve the job. You are allowed to grieve the friendship. You are allowed to grieve the family dynamic. You are allowed to grieve the version of your life you thought would last longer. But do not mistake grief for failure. Do not mistake silence for abandonment. Do not mistake delay for denial. Do not mistake collapse for the end of your story. Because this is not where your story ends. This is where the old version of your story stops controlling you. A new chapter is forming. Even if you cannot see it yet. Even if all you can see right now is uncertainty. Even if you are tired. Even if you are scared. Even if you are wondering how everything is going to come together. Something is being forged in you. A stronger discernment, a deeper peace, a clearer voice, a more honest relationship with yourself. A version of you who will no longer ignore the signs just because the truth is inconvenient. A version of you who will no longer stay where your light is constantly being questioned, drained, or attacked. A version of you who knows the difference between love and attachment, between support and control, between opportunity and exploitation, between peace and temporary comfort. And when this version of you rises, your life has to change, your environment has to change, your connections have to change. Your relationship with work, money, love, family, purpose, and self-worth has to change. Because the new you cannot live in the old reality. The new you cannot keep breathing inside spaces that were designed for your survival mode. The new you needs room. Room to think. Room to heal. Room to create. Room to rest. Room to become. So if life feels like it is falling apart right now, pause before you decide that everything is over. Because something may be ending, yes, but something else is forming. Something more aligned. Something more honest. Something that matches the person you are becoming, not just the person you had to be. You may not have all the answers today. You may not know where you are going. You may not know who will stay, who will leave, or what the next door will look like. But you are not crazy for feeling the shift. You are not imagining the energy changing. You are not weak because you feel exhausted. You are not behind because your life does not look stable right now. Sometimes the ground shakes before the new foundation is revealed. Sometimes the old life has to become uncomfortable enough that you stop trying to return to it. Sometimes the people who were never meant to walk with your next version remove themselves before you have the strength to let them go. And sometimes what looks like rejection is actually divine separation. What looks like loss is actually clearing. What looks like collapse is actually construction. Your new life is not being built on the same foundation that broke you. It is being built from truth, from wisdom, from the lessons you survived, from the strength you earned when nobody saw what it cost you to keep going. And one day you will look back at this season and realize it was not just a breakdown. It was a breaking open. It was the moment life stopped allowing you to settle for what your soul had already outgrown. It was the moment the old chapter finally lost its grip. It was the moment you began becoming someone you had not met yet, but always carried inside you. So breathe. You are not losing everything. You are losing what cannot come with you. You are not being destroyed. You are being remade. You are not being buried. You are being planted. And even though this chapter feels uncertain, confusing, and painful, it is forging a version of you that will not need to beg for belonging. A version of you that will not shrink to be accepted. A version of you that will not chase what was meant to leave. A version of you that will finally understand. The collapse was not the end. It was the beginning of the life your soul had been trying to lead you toward all along.